Hello and welcome to the Retro Odyssey podcast. I'm Steven, and with me as always is Matt. How's it going?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. How are you?
I've been all right. You know, just kind of work and sleep. You know how it is.
Yeah, nothing changes there.
I've been doing some gaming. Funnily enough, I've been playing games more than I was the past few months, but I've been playing fewer games. Like the
Yeah.
the past month and a half or so has basically been Mass Effect and only Mass Effect. I've played all four of them, most of them multiple times. Not all the way through, just bits here and there. But three of them I played all the way through. I basically played through the Legendary editions, the ones that just came out last year, and then I decided I'm gonna get the rest of the trophies from the PS3 version, so I don't have to play those anymore because the PS3 is arguably the worst version of the games. Originally, it didn't come out on PS3, and there's some wonky stuff with how the games run on PS3. Um, Less and less as you go on, and then some of the DLC got lost when they converted it to PS3.
When you say lost,
Like the actual files for it got corrupted to the point where when they released the new version, they didn't have that DLC to release.
huh? That's quite bad.
Yeah. So it was
Especially for an EA game, they should have multiple backups.
yeah. But I mean, it was one of the DLC missions for the first Mass Effect when the DLC was much less substantial. It's not like a huge loss. It's just kind of a bummer. But I mean, at the same time, that is just content that's straight up not in future versions of the game.
Yeah.
But you can still play it in the 360 and PC versions of Mass Effect, so it's still available, just not in anything released after that initial release.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I've been playing on Xbox, PlayStation, even on the Steam Deck. Actually, I don't think we've recorded since I got my Steam Deck.
No, I don't think we have.
So I got the Steam Deck, and it's a great device. Being able to sit and play any of my Steam games from anywhere in the house. I could travel with it, but I don't really need to. And it's a little bit bigger than the Switch, even with my bigger Joy-Cons. So it's not something I really want to travel with. I mostly use it for playing other stuff around the house.
Yeah, I mean, like the Switch isn't exactly portable. Well, I mean, it is portable, but
It's
it's not pocket sized.
it's about the upper limit of portable.
Yeah. Which is
It's like,
why I wish they had continued with the 3DS as well, because that is a pocket sized thing.
yeah, as long as you've got big pockets, it'll still fit. But yeah, the Switch is about the upper limit of what I want to carry around. So the Steam Deck is mostly gonna stay home. But it works pretty well. The touch pads work just as well as the haptic pads on the Steam controller did. I was originally concerned about the layout because it's got the D-pad and buttons in the upper corners, and then the sticks just inside of them. And I thought that was gonna feel terrible, but it actually the way you hold it, your thumbs naturally fall to where the buttons and the sticks are. So that actually turned out pretty good. It's a well designed piece of tech.
Yeah, because I mean, looking at pictures of it, it does seem really high up, those buttons, but if you say it's kind of like it works, then fair enough.
Your hands naturally fall into that position. The touchpads are actually a little trickier to reach. You just have to adjust your grip a little bit. But if you're using the pads, you're usually using them exclusively, unless you're using it to aim or something.
It's not like you're having to move your thumb up and down constantly.
Yeah, especially because if I can use the mouse to aim, I'll just set it up as a gyro because the Steam Deck does have gyro control. I haven't dug into the emulation side of it. I just haven't really taken the time to go through and set everything up. But as far as games on Steam, it works really well. I know there's a program somebody made to add in Epic Games and GOG.
All right.
Yeah, like you can open that program and you'll have access to those libraries on the Steam Deck. They're not guaranteed to work. It's just kind of a case by case thing.
Because I mean, I do have like literally thousands of games on Steam, but I've also got like a hell of a lot on GOG as well.
Yeah, and I've got a bunch on GOG. I've got even more on Epic from them giving stuff away. So having access to all of that is that's just fine with me. Like,
Yeah, and if you can get the emulation running as well, you've got an all-in-one system there.
yeah, that I can take all over the house and play while we're watching something or
And I'm assuming you can actually get stuff like YouTube, Netflix on it as well.
oh yeah, because what you can do is when so when you boot it up, it'll boot into the actual gaming mode. You can switch it to a desktop mode.
Yeah.
Now it is Linux, so things will work a little differently than someone who's used to Windows. But it's not too differently. And so I mean, yeah, it's basically just a computer with a very well designed front end for Steam gaming. And there's all kind of ways to add things to the gaming side of it so that you can actually have like the little cards for your emulated games. You can have them show up just like another Steam game. There's all kind of cool stuff you can do with that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So yeah, that's basically what I've been doing for a month and a half. So what have you been playing?
Most of the usual. A new patch came out for Final Fantasy 14, new raid, whole bunch of new story content. So mostly been doing that, but I've been dipping into a little Skyrim here and there. One thing that I have been playing, and I only started playing it yesterday, because I only just found out that it existed a couple of days ago. There is a fantastic game of the year for me, a fantastic game called Vampire Survivors, which I have just been loving. It's like a roguelike shooter, not in the same way that Binding of Isaac is a roguelike shooter, but you basically don't attack. It's like a top-down view. Enemies will come towards you. They're like all the enemies will naturally come towards you, and the attack is automatic. You've got several different characters. They all have different ways of attacking. Like you have one character, the character you start with has a whip that goes out in front of him, and all you can do is move, and the attacks are automatic. So you're moving around trying to hit these enemies, and as you level up, each time you level up, you get a choice of 3 upgrades. You can get like a new weapon or an upgrade for your current weapon, and you can just build these combos of like massive attacks constantly going off around you. Again, you can't control it, but you're just moving your character around while these automatic attacks just kind of like massacre stuff around you. And it is really, really addictive. You get kind of like coins for leveling up, and you get them in chests if you defeat like a particularly difficult monster, and you can use those coins to either unlock new characters or permanently upgrade all of your characters. There's kind of like a stat sheet thing that you can put points into, and they cost varying amounts of gold. just it's basically one of those games that even if you don't do well in a particular run, because you only get like the one life. If you don't do well in a particular run, you will have still like got some money that you can put towards upgrades for your next run, and it is just so addictive. I spent like several hours on it last night. It is just a hell of a lot of fun, and the best thing it's an early access game. It is on Steam for about £2 or $3. I will never usually complain about a game being too cheap, but this should have been 15 at least. And it has been picked up by a lot of the big streamers. Asmongold's been playing this. Northern Lion's been playing this. You know, like the really big guys have kind of like jumped on this, and it is just massively successful at the minute. And I don't understand why they're only charging that much for it. It doesn't feel right. It feels like I've like robbed the developers for buying it for that price.
I've heard a lot of good things about this from multiple different places, so I did pick it up. I just haven't had a chance to play it yet. But this sounds like exactly the kind of thing that I would enjoy because it's basically a dopamine factory.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to trying this when I get the chance.
Yeah, I think my best run last night, I think I lasted about 15 minutes, but I had whips going out from both sides of me. I had, I think, 3 knives shooting in the direction I was facing. I had like a magic wand thing which targets the nearest enemy. I think I had 2 of them. I had a fireball that targets a random enemy and does like a massive area attack. And I had birds like flying around in the sky, like dive bombing like random parts of the screen. And you just do a hell of a lot of damage. I mean, the enemies get tougher the further you go along as well. So it's not kind of like face roll once you get like the decent attacks, but it is very satisfying when you've got all these different spells and attacks all going off at once.
What I heard from some of the game journalists, it sounded like the best parts of late Isaac runs.
Yeah,
Without the massive wealth of bad options.
yeah. I mean, I've not found any detrimental, so I don't think there is any detrimental stuff. But you can, like I say, you get 3 choices, and I think later on, as you level up, you can get a chance to get a 4th choice as well. So you can go with kind of like 6 different attacks going off at once, or you can just upgrade 1 or 2 of your attacks and stick with them. There's like so much variety in like how you can build a character during a run, and there were a lot of different characters as well. I've only unlocked 4 so far, but I know there were a lot more from seeing other people play it, and they all play differently and all have different like starting stats.
That's cool.
But yeah, I would encourage everyone to get on that. The attacks are very clearly influenced by Castlevania. You've got whips, you have
the knife.
Yeah, you've got the knife, you've got Bibles that spin around you, you've got axes that can shoot like an arc in front of you. Very, very much Castlevania themed, and you're fighting all different kind of vampires as well. So very, very much influenced by Castlevania.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this. It sounds like a blast.
Oh, it is.
And the footage I've seen makes it look like a lot of fun.
Yeah, you'll have to tell us next month what you thought of it.
Oh yeah.
But that is all I've been playing, really. I've not been doing too much. Oh, actually, there is one other thing. I finally got around to playing SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom, which was which was on PS Plus a couple of months back, and that is really good. It is. It's not like super difficult, but it's just a really fun, joyful 3D platformer. I've only done one level so far, but the level was like really big, and it took me like a couple hours to get through it. But it's just if you've watched SpongeBob, you know the kind of humor that's in SpongeBob, and it is just like that kind of thing throughout. And my only complaint was that Mr. Krabs wasn't being voiced by Clancy Brown. It was someone who was doing a close approximation, but you could tell it. Yeah, you can tell it wasn't Clancy Brown. But that was my only complaint. Really, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's one game that like I never actually got to try, but I know a lot of people said it was a lot better than they expected it to be.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I'd be into it, but I thought I'd give it a go since it was on PS Plus, and yeah, really good.
Well, that's good. I know SpongeBob is one of those things that can be kind of hit or miss for people. And then, cartoon video games usually don't turn out well, so I'm glad that one was good. So I guess since we don't get up to a whole lot, I guess we need to move on to news.
Yes, we do. The first news topic is something that I didn't put in our topic list because I want your live reaction to this. So
Okay.
I'm going to put a link into the chat, and I want you to describe for the viewers what this is. This is a new, officially licensed Square Enix product.
Well, the thumbnail is not very promising. Okay. What the hell is this? Okay, so I guess they're embracing the nonsense that we had with the Italian I forget the name of their lawmaking body, but so the link is it's basically a statue of Tifa bent down, leaning on her elbows, basically twerking on a Buster Sword, which that's just ridiculous.
Yep, that is available to pre-order for $728.99, which is a lot of money. You could just Google Tifa Lockhart and you will get similar kind of art come up. But honestly, it is really well done. I mean, I'm not really a fan of collecting like these kind of statues. It's not really my kind of thing. But it is a well done statue, I have to say.
I mean, like all the statues that Square Enix puts out are well made. I'm not real big into statues. Like, if I'm gonna have a figurine, I want it to be like either an action figure that's not, hundreds of dollars, or like an amiibo which also should not be hundreds of dollars, but that does something.
The standard version is £544.99. But you can get an advanced version with interchangeable nude body for £644.99. So an extra £100 if you want a nude. Or you can get a battle suit nude body. I don't really know what that is, for the same price. Or you can get the version with both extra bodies for $728.99.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous.
But I kind of wanted to see what you thought of that. I wanted you to describe that rather than myself.
Yeah, you were right that I haven't seen this, because I would have been way angrier about it.
Yeah, but yeah, it's weird that it's officially licensed, but yeah, if you want a new Tifa figure twerking on the Buster Sword, then find a grand somewhere and get this.
God, I swear, the only person at Square who has a brain left is Naoki Yoshida.
Mm.
Speaking of
Square, yes, they've sold off a lot of their properties.
I think it was like 70 IPs in total.
70 was it?
I don't remember. I know it was a ridiculous number.
I know that they sold off Crystal Dynamics, who make the Tomb Raider games. Which the recent Tomb Raider games made by Crystal Dynamics have been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there's still one coming, and like a new one. Obviously, it's not going to be kind of like Square this time. It's going to be someone else. But
Right.
yeah, a lot of their other franchises as well.
But like from what I understand, it was all of its Western studios, Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, Square Enix Montreal, and the big ones are Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy of Kain. There's like 50 games, so maybe that's the number I heard.
They've not done anything with Legacy of Kain for over 20 years.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's one of those things where like they sold all this stuff for 300 million, which you look at the lifetime sales of these IPs, and they made way more than that for Square.
Yeah, I bet the Tomb Raider reboots like made a good chunk of that.
Yeah, they did really well. They just didn't do well enough. It's the same crap that EA pulls.
So what reason have they given for selling these off?
So I'm trying to remember if they've announced why. So I don't know if they've officially announced why, but one of the things people have been saying is they did it to invest more in crypto.
Oh yeah, they are. They are still looking to do that, aren't they?
And it's like, come on. Like it's wild to me because everyone knows Final Fantasy saved Squaresoft. Like, you know, if the original Final Fantasy didn't do well, Squaresoft wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 14 almost killed them when it first came out. And now it may be the only thing that saves this company.
Mm.
Because, like, you know, Final Fantasy 14 is still making money hand over fist. Even without the cash shop, just the subscriptions and the expansion sales are doing gangbusters.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the cash shop is doing like a
Oh,
decent amount as well.
it's doing a ridiculous amount based on the things I've seen in game. Um, but like even just the subscription is bringing them insane amounts of money. Like it's so successful that they let Yoshida work on that they let him basically make Final Fantasy 16. And thank God that game was too far in development for them to cram blockchain stuff into it.
Yeah.
But like he's the only one at that company that's still interested in making good games.
It's weird. Square are doing some weird stuff.
Like it's like all the executives have decided, we don't want to make games anymore. We want to just, spite the fans. I don't know. And I know there's probably a lot of developers that are just like Naoki Yoshida, who are just trying to do the best they can with what they're being given. I'm just glad that we've got somebody in there like that.
Yeah. Speaking of Final Fantasy 16 as well, just a little tangent. Apparently the game is almost finished, and we should be getting a trailer very soon.
Oh, I would be very up for that. I mean,
Yes.
at this point, given what I've seen and the things that I've heard, I will buy anything with Naoki Yoshida's name on it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's a guarantee, but it's good enough for me to put money on it no matter what it is.
But while we're on Square Enix still, there is a new Mana game come out on mobile called Echoes of Mana. I've not had a chance to play it because my phone doesn't have the space to actually install it, but it is a free-to-play game with microtransactions.
Yep.
It I honestly cannot tell how egregious those microtransactions are.
I can't tell you yet. It's currently downloading, but
Hmm.
I played the intro bit. Um, First thing I was struck by was how all of the audio is in Japanese. Like, there's not a lot of it. Like, there's the opening cutscene has a little bit of spoken dialogue.
Yeah.
Um, Everything else is mostly just text boxes. Like you do with meta games. Um, but like all of it is Japanese, which I'm surprised.
Opera Omnia is the same.
Oh, is it?
Uh,
Okay.
the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. There isn't a lot of dialogue during the actual quests, and you've got like English text boxes,
Right.
but the characters during the fights, like they all talk while they're fighting. Like whatever move they're doing, they do kind of like a unique little voice line for that
Right.
move,
And it's all
and
Japanese.
yeah, it's all Japanese.
Okay. Interesting. But yeah, based on what I'm seeing, it looks to be kind of like Fire Emblem Heroes and a couple of the other Final Fantasy ones, where you're an original character or an original character for the game, basically gathering up the great heroes of previous games to do something. Like I said, it's still downloading, but it does it references you being a mana swordsman and gathering heroes. It's like, okay, so this is going to be just like the others with the random drops and all of that. So I mean, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna try it out. The small snippet of combat I got was basically you can move around freely, and then you have your buttons for attacks, and you've got like I think like 4 attacks you can do. It's not super engaging. Um, I'll check it out some more and report back, but I don't
Yeah,
expect to get very far. I mean, even the games like this that I like, that I enjoy playing, I never am able to stick with for very long. I'm just not. Mobile games just don't really stick with me, even if they're good.
yeah, and a lot of them, you can't get particularly far without paying.
Right. Or investing a lot of time, which
Yeah,
we have progressively less and less of.
yeah. I mean, with Opera Omnia, you don't really need to spend anything. I mean, you can to get extra resources,
Hmm.
or cosmetic stuff, um, but it's nothing that you can't get in game. I do a 4.99 subscription per month,
Hmm.
which gives me like a little bit of extra stuff. But it isn't required. It's just because this is a game that I literally play every day,
Right.
and 4.99 a month. I'm fine with that for a game that I play all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can stick with these games and you're engaging with it every day, then yeah, that's more, that's got more value. Like I said, I have a hard time sticking with mobile games, even the ones I enjoy. Um, it's just it's hard for me. Like the only time I really play mobile games is if I'm out and about, like on break at work, or waiting for my car to be worked on or something. Because if I'm at home, I have access to all of my other games.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But
But
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
so
you'll have to let us know what this one's like.
yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Mana series, so I will give this an honest try. Um, I just I don't expect much given how I bounced off of Fire Emblem and two different Final Fantasy
Yeah.
mobile games. And, Fire Emblem and Final Fantasy are two of my favorite series. What else do we have? I
Yeah.
think we have more nonsense.
There is some Sonic fuckery coming from Sega because they are re-releasing again the Mega Drive Sonic games, as well as the Mega CD one. They are literally everywhere, these Sonic games. Every single system you can think of has these Mega Drive Sonic games on it. But now they're remastered, apparently. And Sega is charging a lot of money for these. You've got to buy them all in like one package. And you can play as kind of like all the different characters in each one, like Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. Only those three, as far as I'm aware. And the main kind of like fuckery with this that they did, I'm sure you've seen those pre-order graphs that a lot of companies do where they have like checkboxes and they say this edition's got this edition's got this, etc.
Right.
So luckily in this checkbox, all of the editions contain the main game, which is good. It's good. But you get like halfway down this list and some of the digital deluxe exclusives are there is animation in the main menu from the main characters. You can move the camera in the main menu when you're looking at like the different maps, and there is animation in the music player, which these are all bonus exclusives that you get with the more expensive editions.
Right.
And it kind of feels like they made the game, they made the editions, and then thought, we really want to put out one of these graphs. What can we put in this graph? Because they just seem to have plucked these things from nowhere, and just the ridiculous things that they're putting as exclusives for these editions. It is just mind-boggling, and people obviously took the absolute piss out of it.
As they should.
Yeah. Because who gives a shit about animations in the main menu, and why would you pay extra for it? And why make that an exclusive? Why take out animations out of the main menu?
Right. So here's my question. How much are they charging for the base game and what's in it?
Okay, so just looking at the PS4 versions for the UK, well, PS4 and PS5, they're the same price. So standard edition, which is £32.99, includes the main game, the Start Dash pack, includes it's free DLC included with pre-order of standard or digital deluxe. You get 100 bonus coins. No one knows what the coins do. Mirror mode unlocked, which I'm assuming is kind of like mirrored versions of the tracks. And letterbox background. So you buy this DLC, or rather you pre-order, you get an aspect ratio as a bonus. They give you a bonus aspect ratio there. So that's cool. The premium fun pack contains hard missions. Again, you get the letterbox background, and you get the character animation in the main menu, camera controls over the main menu islands, and character animations during music islands. We don't have prices for these two DLC packs.
Right.
The classic music pack contains additional music tracks from Mega Drive Genesis titles. That's all that one has in it. And the Digital Deluxe Edition, which on PS4, PS5 in the UK is £36.99. So it's only £4 more, but still. You get obviously the main game, and you get the hard missions, and you get all the animations and the additional music tracks.
Mm.
So for some reason, you don't get the aspect ratio in this. You don't get the free aspect ratio unless you pre-order. But you do get like everything else,
Right.
that they've like sectioned out.
So so what games are included in this? Is it
It is Sonic 1, 2, 3 for the Mega Drive and Sonic CD for the Sega CD.
okay.
So it is just those 4 games.
Huh.
Because Sega, if you say kind of like the worst Master System to Sega, they're going to say, "What the fuck is that?" Like they have no idea that that there were Sonic games on the Master System, and they will never re-release them. They've never been re-released, as far as I'm aware, since the original cartridges.
Unless you count the Game Gear.
Yeah, unless you count the Game Gear, but I think they came out at roughly the same time as the Master System ones.
Right.
More or less. But none of these collections ever have the Master System games in, and that is the only reason that I would buy it. Everyone has the Mega Drive Sonic games on so many collections.
So here's why I mentioned the Game Gear games, because there are the Sonic Mega Collection Plus for the PS2 and original Xbox, I think, has Sonic the Hedgehog for Game Gear, along with some of the other Game Gear titles, and then the Sonic Gems Collection for GameCube and PS2 has Sonic 2 and some of the other Game Gear games on it. So instead of spending $40 for this new thing for 4 games, you could buy the Sonic Mega Collection Plus for $10 and get Sonic, Sonic 2, Sonic Spinball, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 3D Blast, Blue Spear, Knuckles in Sonic 2, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and then for Game Gear, Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic Chaos, Sonic Drift, Sonic Labyrinth, Sonic Blast. You can get all of that for $10 if you have a PS2.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. But you know what you can't buy? You cannot buy Sonic 1, 2, 3 and Sonic CD on their own now, digitally, because Sega have delisted all of the digital versions of those which were available.
Bastards.
So you can no longer buy those individually. If you want to buy these new on modern console, you need to buy this collection, which is good of them.
You'd think they would have at least included Sonic 4 in some capacity, but I guess they don't want to acknowledge it exists.
No, and plus that was like a lot later as well.
Well, yeah.
But it's just these exact same games all the time. I mean, the Master System version of Sonic 1, in my opinion, is better than the Mega Drive version. I love that game. I think it's really good. And you just never see them on these collections, and it just annoys me.
I mean, you're talking to the wrong person. The Sonic game I've played the most is Sonic R, so
I mean, I'm not saying these are bad games, they're not. But
we have these games.
Everyone has these games.
Like, I don't care what system you have, you've probably got a Genesis collection buried somewhere.
Yeah, I've got one for PS3, PS4, PC. I think I have that Sonic collection for PS2 as well.
I've got a Genesis collection on PSP that only has a couple of Sonic games. But, like, you know, even me who doesn't care that much about Sega has a Sega collection. Although I'll tell you what, I need to pick up the Sonic Gems collection because it has Sonic R on it. I haven't been able to play that for years.
But like when you have companies like Konami, for fuck's sake, putting a dozen Turtles games on one collection.
Yeah, how is Konami doing this shit better than everyone else?
Yeah. Like, Konami will like, this is a Blu-ray disc. let's put all of our Turtles games on it because they will fit. It's like all of the Sonic games.
Shit, they would all fit twice.
Yeah, 8-bit and 16-bit would all fit on these collections.
Hell, so you could take the Sonic Mega Collection Plus and the Sonic Gems Collection, fit all of these games on half of a Blu-ray disc, and I guarantee you a bunch of people would buy it. I think less people will buy this bullshit they're peddling now than would buy it if they just re-release these two collections.
Especially now that everyone made fun of them for that stupid graph.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's Sega doing nonsense. I think that's all of the news we've actually got. There is one upcoming retro-themed release. There's really not a lot for me at all. Literally, there's only one that I could find. Pac-Man Museum Plus is coming out on May 27th. Which is obviously, as you might imagine, a collection of Pac-Man games. They've done these Pac-Man museums in the past.
Is it anything like the old Namco museums?
I believe so.
Okay.
But this has got Pac-Man, Super Pac-Man, Pac-and-Pal, Pac-Land, Pac-Mania, Pac-Attack, Pac-in-Time, Pac-Man Arrangement, Pac-Man Arrangement, again, a different version, Pac-Man Championship Edition, Pac-and-Roll Remix, Pac-Potos, Pac-Man Battle Royale, and Pac-Man 256. And I'm very, very happy that I actually own a pop filter, because all of those P's would have just blown your ears out.
Yeah.
But that is again, Namco are doing better than Sega here. That is a lot of games for one collection.
Yeah, and that's not even doesn't even have like Miss Pac-Man in it.
No, I think the original Pac-Man Museum had, Pac-Man Museum does have Miss Pac-Man. This is kind of like a sequel to that collection, so they've released like a couple collections.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's not bad. I'm not the biggest Pac-Man fan. I probably won't pick this up, but if you like Pac-Man, there is a shitload of Pac-Man games coming on May 27th. And like I said, that is pretty much the only release. So with that out of the way, let's get on to the games for this episode.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so the topic for this episode is rail shooters. There's been a lot of these games over the years, and there's kind of different ways to interpret it. And then there's in the case of the Wii, there were games that were, regular twin stick turned into rail shooters. But basically just, being on a rail shooting things, that's what we're working with for criteria. And to that end, our first game is Space Harrier. I think you probably know more about this than I do, since you're more familiar with Sega.
Yeah, so basically Space Harrier was an arcade game, originally released in 1985. And you play as a guy with a really small jetpack. The manual for the Mega Drive version says that he has a really small jetpack, probably because you can't actually see it. It doesn't look like he's wearing one, but he's wearing a jetpack and he can fly.
I was going to say he looks like he's floating just from the sheer size of his gun.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, it is. The manual makes it clear that he is wearing a really small jetpack. But Jeez. Basically, you move this guy across the screen. You're constantly moving forwards. The game like I said, with the concept of rail shooters is that the movement is generally done for you. You're constantly moving forwards. You're just moving around the screen to dodge projectiles and hit all manner of different alien enemies. Um, and basically, it's a rather simple shooter, but as as an arcade game, it was really popular, and it ended up getting ports to everything, basically. Mega Drive initially, but there were ports on the Spectrum, C64, basically any system that you can think of got a port for this. I will speak specifically about the Master System version shortly, because there is something special about that. But Amiga, TurboGrafx 16, 3DS got a version, and it also had a sequel which didn't hit the arcades but hit the home consoles as well. And it is just kind of like a really trippy, very colourful kind of shooter, which is in its original version rock hard,
Yeah,
really hard,
it's really
um,
difficult.
to like dodge everything, because not only have you got enemy projectiles, you have the environment coming towards you. There's like trees and a lot of like pillars and ground stuff that you've got to be dodging at the same time as you're dodging all the enemy projectiles. And you're also having to hit the enemies as well, because as you're going forward, like you have to clear a wave before the next wave will spawn in. So you've got to run around and hit them. It's not like a lot of shooters where once they hit the bottom of the screen, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
You do actually have to clear the waves, and at the end of each stage, you get a boss, which usually has kind of like distinct attack patterns that you've usually got to learn. And there are a lot of varied bosses. There's some really good boss designs in terms of like character design. One thing that does put me off in the boss fights, when you hit the boss, it makes a little clinking sound.
Mm-hmm.
And so many other video games have conditioned me to think that that clinking sound is a blocked hit and you haven't
Oh,
hit the right place. Because when you hit something generally in a shooter that has a shield up, you get that same kind of sound effect,
right.
that clink sound effect. But in this game, that is the sound it makes when you actually hit. So for a long time, I didn't think I was doing any damage to the bosses whatsoever, because I just kept hearing this clink sound when I was hitting them. And I thought I'm obviously not hitting them in the right place. But then they blew up and died. So I was like, I was hitting them in the right place. They've just given it a sound effect that makes it sound like you're not actually hitting them.
Right.
There are a lot of bosses, culminating with what appears to be a battle with God. Um, I mean, it's a dude with like a beard and a robe, and he's got lions, I believe it is, to either side of him. Um, I don't really know what he's supposed to be, but I'm guessing he's kind of like God. And then after
Probably.
that, you have like a boss rush, like at the end of the game. But before I go into kind of like the specifics of a couple of the different versions, what do you think about?
So when I first played this, the primary thought I had is this is the most American game I've ever seen, because you're shooting trees and ruins and
Yeah.
creatures and destroying the environment. This is American as fuck. Like you said, it's pretty tough, especially because you get more and more things to avoid as you go. Um, it just gets kind of ridiculous towards the end there. But yeah, I thought it was okay. I mean, I picked up a copy on Switch. Um, I'm not terribly upset for how much I paid for it. I don't remember how much it was. I think it was only like $5 or $6. But like it, it's fine. It's an old arcade game, and they were meant to be hard. So
Yeah. Does the Switch version have adjustable difficulty?
maybe I didn't do very much with it.
Because I played the Saturn version, which is a support of the arcade version, but it does have additional options that allow you to change the difficulty. And even at the easiest setting, I couldn't get past the third level boss.
I think I got to level 4 or 5. But the Switch version has it has the like the one at the top of the screen is original arcade mode. I think there's a couple other things you can do, but I didn't bother with them.
So yeah, it's kind of like with a lot of the Sega ports to Switch, a bunch of different additional stuff that they add in there.
Yeah, I think it's a Sega Ages game.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, I mean it's all right. It certainly is a rail shooter.
For me personally, this is a game that I do enjoy, even though I do find really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It is just so colourful. The music is really good, and the variety in enemy design. I mean, these are all aliens. I'm assuming, considering the fact that this is clearly an alien world, that you are again being American and committing genocide.
Yep.
Against these aliens, because you kill a lot, and like pretty much every single species that exists on this planet, apparently you're shooting.
And the trees and the big stone
Yeah.
heads and the the temple looking things.
But yeah, it's very fast paced and colorful and fun. And even if you can't get particularly far, it is worth checking out. I mean, we're saying this. Everyone knows what Space Harrier is at this point. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, to be fair, I did not know what it was until we talked about it.
All right.
So so I would say if you're in Europe, it's a pretty good chance you know about it. It's just Nintendo won the war over here.
Yeah, that's fair enough because it was only on Sega systems and arcades. So
yeah,
well, I mean, it wasn't just on Sega systems, but it wasn't on Nintendo systems.
Yeah, at the time, it was just Sega systems.
Yeah. But one of the versions is actually quite special. The Master System version is one of the 8 games that uses the 3D glasses peripheral.
Oh, really?
For the Master System. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Space Harrier 3D, it's called, on the Master System. And yeah, Sega released these 3D glasses, which have left and right running at kind of like different shutter speeds to kind of like simulate the 3D. And okay. Yeah, this is one of only 8 games that ever came out for it. And I have actually played this with 3D glasses about 30 years ago. So I cannot remember how it actually looked. I remember most people not being able to use them for extended periods of time.
Right, because they get headaches.
Yeah.
But I can see how it would work, though, because like with all the shots coming at you and the enemies flying into the screen, I could see it working.
Yeah, and the Master System version as well. I really like the color palette on the Master System version. It's not as detailed as the Mega Drive version, but it is the colors are brighter on it, and it's got a really appealing look for it. But yeah, it just notable for being one of the few games for these 3D glasses before Sega completely abandoned them.
It's almost like the older systems still have some value.
Yeah. Well, Sega didn't think so because by the time they released the Master System 2, they removed the ability to use the 3D glasses.
Oh, that's even worse.
Because the 3D glasses plug into the card port of the Master System because some games came on card.
Right.
And the Master System 2 doesn't have a card port.
Gotcha. Kind of like
So,
how
yeah.
any Xbox One after the original doesn't have a Connect port.
Mm. It is like an obsolete piece of tech, but I have a friend who, as far as I'm aware, still has one. Probably hasn't used it for 30 years again, but
That's crazy.
um,
I didn't know that the 3D glasses were like it was like an actual device.
yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, you plugged it into the mains and you plugged it into the card slot, and it created like a 3D effect.
That is nuts.
The person that designed Mass Systems 3D glasses, a guy called Mark Cerny, I believe his name is.
Mhm.
He is the guy who designed the PlayStation 4.
Oh, interesting.
The look of the PlayStation 4 was designed by the same person who designed the 3D glasses for the Master System.
Like the physical,
Yes,
the physical system.
as far as I could make out, it is the actual design, like the exterior design of it.
Oh, okay. Man, Sega did some really wild stuff with the Master System. I guess also with the Genesis.
Yeah, like before forgetting that the Master System exists.
Yeah, I'm still surprised they didn't have more of a foothold here because like they did some impressive stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with the Master System, so like I've got fond memories, but you know, Nintendo had the foothold over there, so
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with every Nintendo system.
yeah,
I mean, to this day, I can play any Nintendo game ever released.
yeah. And I grew up with all the Sega systems, but I had access to the Nintendo systems as well through a
Right.
friend. But usually we would just play Sega.
Yeah. If you're someone who played this, 30 years ago and had fond memories of it, pick it up on Switch. It's not that expensive, and it's Sega Ages, so it's got a bunch of extra stuff in it. It's fine. I mean, as a noted, as someone who is largely indifferent to Sega, I'm not upset that I bought this.
Yeah, I might actually buy the Switch version as well.
It's a good to all right game. Check it out if it sounds interesting. It's available for damn near anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll take a quick break and go on to our next game.
Yes, where we will piss off the remaining 3 listeners.
I don't know. Maybe we'll get some of the Nintendo fans back.
Yeah.
So our second game is going to upset a lot of people because they think it shouldn't be included in this category. And that game is Pokemon Snap, released in 1999 for the Nintendo 64. This is one of the Pokemon spin-off games that people loved so much. Like it was regarded almost as well as the main games, which is not easy to do for Pokemon. Pokemon had some real crazy stuff back then. But the basic gameplay of Pokemon Snap is you are in this little cart and quite literally on rails. There's I think at least 2 or 3 levels where you are on a set of train tracks, and you go through this preset pattern and can look around and take pictures of all the Pokemon doing different things. There's some running around, there's some swimming or flying through the air, and as you go further into the game, you get items that you can use in the levels. You get apples, and you get they call them pester balls. They're basically just like a smoke bomb you throw at them, and so you can. A good example is the first level right there at the beginning. There's a Pikachu that you can lead to a surfboard, and if you get him on, you throw apples to lead him to the surfboard. And if you get him on the surfboard, he'll like do the surfing Pikachu pose, and you can get a really good picture of that. There's other things like you throw a pester ball into tall grass, and a Scyther pops out and swings at you. None of the Pokemon can hit you with anything, but like it sounds like a dumb idea, but it works. It really does. Um, I actually never owned this game. I rented it back in the day, and I played through the whole thing. It's a lot of fun for a simple concept, and part of that is I think the stages were pretty well designed, and part of that is just it's fun to engage with Pokemon in a different way. But I know you're not into Pokemon, so what did you think of this?
I actually quite like this game, honestly. I had controller issues. Basically, whenever we do an N64 game that I don't own, I have to emulate it. And games that would work perfectly well on an N64 pad do not work as well on an Xbox pad,
Right.
which is what I use. So I had issues with kind of like sensitivity and stuff like that, which made lining up shots a little difficult.
Yeah.
Because as I've mentioned with shooters before, I'm not really great at aiming anyway. So having a non-optimal controller doesn't really help. But I was able to get through like 4 stages of this, just kind of like going through and getting better and better poses of these Pokemon and finding out how to like manipulate them in such a way to get better pictures. Like I did manage to do that surfboard thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like how there are certain special poses that will give you kind of like a shitload of points, because basically you choose one picture of each Pokemon that you take a picture of to show to the professor at the end, and he will like score you based on the pose, the size,
This picture is
technique.
not very good.
Yeah, yeah, basically whether or not it's like in the center of the frame, stuff like that. So you basically go around taking as many pictures as you can and just pick your best ones at the end. But if you are able to manipulate them into doing these special poses, which you've usually got to do special stuff to like to them to get them to do that, you get like a lot more points, and you basically progress through the game by getting extra points. And like the third level opens up when you hit a specific Pokemon with an apple. That's a different thing, but you get a certain amount of points. It lets you go on to like the next stage, and you can always go back as well and get better pictures of the other Pokemon, like from that first stage, like because you don't get the apple on the first stage straight away, so you go through that just taking pictures like normally, and then you can go back later on once you get the apple, and then you can do other stuff in that level. So I found it really interesting way to kind of like encourage replayability, and it's just fun taking cool pictures of Pokemon and choosing which ones you think are the best.
It's really nice because one of the big draws of Pokemon at back in the original days and even today is the actual creatures. Like there's the cute ones, there's the cool looking ones, and being able to engage with Pokemon outside of a battling context in a situation where, like, there are still some challenging things to do in this game, but it's not, the difficulty isn't the point. It's, just kind of hanging out and watching Pokemon do stuff and taking pictures of them.
Yeah, it's like it's a peaceful game.
Yeah, it's much less stressful than the mainline RPGs where you're like, oh man, I gotta do this, I gotta beat this person. It's, hey, there's an Eevee, let me take a picture of it. One of the things I like is if you see a Pokemon that it isn't immediately clear what it is, like, you'll see a Snorlax that's asleep, and if you take a picture of it without waking it up, Professor doesn't know what it is, apparently. It's like I don't see a Pokemon in this frame.
Yeah, you get the question mark on the when you kind of like frame over it.
Yeah. And then there's things like when there's a ghost Pokemon, you'll just see like a little purple blob flying around. But when you take a picture of it and the pictures come out at the end, there's a Pokemon in it.
It took me a while to figure that out because I think on the second stage I was taking a picture of like purple blobs, and at the end I had a load of pictures of haunters, and it's like I don't remember taking pictures of haunters. But then I did realize that was how you got the picture of the haunters. You just do the purple blobs and then they show up in the picture afterwards. I didn't realize that straight away.
Yeah. So that's cool. I like how you can make different Pokemon do different things. So like in the volcano one, you can throw an apple to the Charmeleon, and he'll like sit and he'll like rise up and roar. But you can also throw it at him, knock him into the lava, and then he turns into Charizard. Cool things like that. There's one where you can take a Magikarp and guide it up into a waterfall, and then it evolves into Gyarados. Specifically referencing I want to say it's a Japanese myth of a fish that climbs a waterfall and turns into a dragon. That's a really cool thing you can do. I don't remember exactly which stage it's on.
I'll tell you what, Magikarp are difficult to get a good picture of.
They really are.
They are really fast.
They come out, they jump up and go down quick. Especially if you're having precision issues with the controller. That is one you got to be quick on. The big, end of the game is basically you go through all these levels and you can unlock a special stage, which is only one Pokemon, and it's Mew. But it's basically like it's got this, it's projecting like a shield over itself, so you have to hit it with the Pester Balls, and then you'll get like, maybe 7 seconds to take pictures of it. And I remember when I played this back in the day, I managed to snap like a perfect picture of it where it was right in the middle of frame, doing a thing, taking up the whole frame. That was like a super cool thing for me as a kid. But it's, that's it. That's the final challenge is just, take a picture of this one. And and the stage itself looks really cool. It's like kind of like a Rainbow Road kind of thing. But yeah, it's it's a lot of fun, and it's like you said, it's peaceful, it's calming. The game's available on the Wii U eShop for $10, and I recommend anyone that's interested check it out there. I can verify that it works pretty well on the Wii U. Obviously, the stick's a little different from the N64 stick, but it's not too bad. Probably would be less issues than you were having.
You know what might actually work really well is if they did a VR version, whether that is VR with PC or VR with like your phone.
Mm-hmm.
So you can look at the place that you want to take a picture of and then take a picture.
The other thing that I think would really, really work is is gyro, and I'm not sure if the gyro works. I don't remember if there actually wait, there is gyro in the Wii U gamepad, so I don't remember if the gyro works for that. I'll have to try that, but gyro would make getting the right picture a lot easier, and that's something new Pokemon Snap could absolutely do because I think all Switch controllers have gyro in them.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing to mention is there is new Pokemon Snap released in 2021 for the Switch. I haven't played it. I've heard it's really good. It should be. It's a Pokemon Snap game. But yeah, so as someone who's not into Pokemon, I take it this was not a bad pick for you.
No, this was a good game. Yeah, I did quite enjoy it. It's not something that I would probably spend a lot of time on. But the couple hours I spent with it, I had fun with it.
You didn't hate me for picking it.
Oh no. I had a decent time.
Yeah, and it was from that time period where they made just a ton of Pokemon spin-offs and side properties and all this stuff. And I think of the ones that came out around that time, because I mean the other ones at the time were Hey You Pikachu and Pokemon Puzzle League, and I think the trading card game came out around the same time. I think this is probably the best spin-off game of the time, unless you're really really into Pokemon Stadium. I really enjoy it. I know a lot of other people really enjoy it. It's one of those that people were clamoring for a re-release of for years, and then they finally put it out. So I think they put it on the Wii eShop too. Yeah, the Wii Virtual Console, actually in 2007, so pretty early. But the Wii Virtual Console shut down a lot sooner than the Wii U Virtual Console. It's a fun game. There are certainly much worse ways to spend an afternoon. Because I mean, I can tell you that back when it first came out, I got through it in about 2-3 days tops.
Yeah.
Like I spent basically an entire Sunday playing this game, and I'm pretty sure I got through the majority of it on that one play session. So it's not a terribly long game. It does have that replayability you were talking about, where you can go through and try to get better pictures and try to make them do other stuff.
Yeah, because it opens up stuff in like previous levels.
Yeah.
We should have put this in the Metroidvania episode.
I don't think have we had an actual Metroidvania episode?
I don't know. We have had Symphony of the Night. I don't remember what episode that was in.
That was in the platformer episode.
Ah.
So our new challenge is how many genre episodes can we squeeze Pokemon Snap into? But yeah, I mean, all I really have to say is it's a good game. People should check it out. It's on the Wii U eShop for $10 while the Wii U eShop is still active. It is going down next year. So I do recommend people get on it if they want to try it.
And it's very kid friendly as well. I mean, if you have parents that are worried about kind of like combat and stuff in games, this game doesn't have any combat in it.
No,
you're just taking pictures.
I think the most you'll see is like I mentioned earlier, you knock a Pokemon into the lava and it evolves into a bigger one. I think the first level has some Pidgeys that throw a whirlwind at a Meowth and it falls over.
Yeah, and Eevee is chasing a Clefairy around in the first level as well. But
and the electrodes explode. That does happen.
But this game's pretty violent. No kid should play this.
So on second thought, no, it's a really good game. I definitely think even people that aren't into Pokemon, I think would enjoy this. I think it's a lot of fun, and it's one of those that you don't have to be super invested in, the larger franchise of Pokemon to appreciate, like actually at this point, small selection of characters. I mean, it's got 61 of the original, or 63 of the original Pokemon, and there's almost 1,000 now. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think people should check it out.
I personally wouldn't recommend emulating it unless you have access to an N64 replica controller.
Right.
But people may have better setups for that kind of thing than I did. I only really have an Xbox pad that I can use with my PC,
right?
Because I don't have like a long enough cable for my PlayStation 4 one. So your experience may vary, but I had issues.
I actually got one of those N64 replica controllers that has a USB cord, and it didn't work.
Oh.
Like, I tried it out and it didn't do anything. It's like, oh, dang it. No, because it's N64, it is going to be a little wonky at emulation. So I would recommend either, if you've got an N64, get a cartridge, or if you've got a Wii U, pick it up on the eShop. Or if you've got a Switch, get new Pokemon Snap, because I'm sure that's great too.
Yeah.
But I think that's all we've got. So we'll take a short break and then come back to finish up.
Okay.
So that was our rail shooter episode. It was anything but on rails as usual for us. But a couple of okay games. Really not a large investment if you want to buy them. Like, they're pretty cheap. But yeah, so I don't think we really have anything else. So I guess we'll just say goodbye. So until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye. And play Vampire Survivors.
Yes.
Where am I going with that now? Because
Sorry.
I was trying to do that joke and you kind of ruined it, but
sorry.
It's all right.